And what do we know about where these cross? It is the equilibrium. And what's our notation? So let's start by raising the price. So either the supplier decides to, or maybe the government says, no, this is the price I want you to sell it at for whatever reason. Let's call it P2. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen to our two curves here. And so if we look where P2 intersects the demand curve, is it less or more than the equilibrium quantity? Less. So people want less than the equilibrium, but what happens over here with the suppliers? They want to supply more because the price is higher. So what happens is we end up getting this triangle shape in here. And this is where I'm grabbing the highlighter or the marker. And so does anyone want to guess what we call it when producers are producing more than people want to buy? Overproduction, good answer. There's another economics word. Kind of. Overstock, reserve, we call it surplus.
Is this sticky note here for me?
I don't even know what it says, so I want to say no. Yes, work, Missy. This is called excess supply. That's what surplus means. Is that good for the economy? No, because then there's a whole bunch of stock hanging around that nobody wants. What if the price goes down? So let's call that P3. I think you are onto something there. And so if we look where P3 intersects supply curve, is it lower or higher than quantity, than equilibrium? So it's lower. People don't want to produce as much because they're not making as much, but what do people want? Right? They want more of it. So we get a second triangle in here. And so the definition is excess demand. What do we call it? Shortage. So shortage is like the hottest, coolest Christmas toy for this coming year. What does everybody want? I don't know. Tell me. Holiday Barbie, so pretty. This up here is Christmas toy from last year, right? It's done, it's over, nobody wants it, there's lots on the shelf. Can I flip? So just summing that up and giving an example. When the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied at a current price, this is called shortage. And mathematically, we say that the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied. Quantity demanded greater than the quantity supplied. Okay, so here's an example in the real world. So there's a market for fruit in the late afternoon. Few stalls are still open, but many people come to the market as they leave work. So there's a few kind of stalls that are open. They've got some produce left. It's getting to the end of the day. What do you think they want to do? Right? They want to get rid of it. They don't want to have to pack it up and haul it back. They want to just get rid of it. So what do suppliers tend to do in this case? Lower the price. They lower the price, which means the demand goes up. And so where that new price intersects supply, that's our QS. And where it intersects demand is our QD. And so we can see that QD is greater than QS. And so that's shortage. When the quantity supplied is more than the quantity demanded, it kills me you're shading it with pencil. Kills me. I know. I accept it. I accept it. It is surplus. What do we say about QD and QS? Or QD is less than QS, just depending how you want to word it. Read the example there. So we're not talking fruit here where it's easy to get rid of fruit and you can pick new fruit. We're talking more about a bigger industry. And so if people lose their jobs or income decreases, we already know from our demand stuff last year that people stop buying cars. But what happens with the produce or the production of it? Well, they can't just halt in the middle of the factory when they have cars half done, right? That's not going to be efficient. So they finish off what they have. Well, what does that mean to the supply? It's going to be way bigger than what people demand. Okay, so that means price is going to go up. This time it's QD that is lowered. QS goes up. And this is our surplus. Are we okay with the definitions? Okay, so here's how to actually calculate them. So excess supply, excess demand. I'm going to go to red pen. I'll give you the notation first, then I'll explain it in English. Yep. So this is just functional notation, which you did last year. Well, you would have done it in grade 10, so first semester. And this is just like f of x. So it's just telling you we want the quantity at that price minus the demand at the same price. So don't let the P's throw you off. You're not multiplying by P. It's just notation. So this is the quantity supplied at a particular price and then we just subtract the quantity demanded at the same price. So the P is just notation saying it's at the exact same price point. It's not multiplication, it's just notation. So we take whatever the quantity is, supply it, or subtract the demand. That'll come later on in the unit. Have you done economics before? Excess demand. What do you think? It's the opposite, so we take the Q demanded at a particular price and minus the quantity supplied. So in terms of mathematics, we're subtracting. Okay, so let's do an example with actual numbers. So we're looking at hamburger patties. Who doesn't love a good hamburger? There's the price per pound, and some company, what they're willing to supply, and then in general, what the market is willing to buy. Okay, so we're going to start just by graphing it, just like we do normal. If you want a sticky, you can come grab. Yeah. Yes. Just reviewing some vocabulary from the first unit is what do we call this table? That would be mathematically, but in terms of economics? If we ignore the demand, this is called a supply schedule. If we ignore supply, it's called a demand schedule. If we put them together, it's called a just supply and demand schedule. If you didn't know that or you forgot, just write that off to the side. That's what the actual table is called. It's a supply and demand schedule. Okay, let's do price first. What would you like to jump by, and how far do we need to go up? Oh, I was going to do price first, but. Look at how the numbers are jumping. They're going up by 30 cents, so probably good to go up by 30 cents. Do we have enough room to go all the way up to the 250? Yeah. Okay. So 0. That's what I did, yeah. It bothers me too that there's no 0 after it. Okay, so if we look at supply and demand together, our lowest and our highest is 9,800. Oh, you're right, 270. You're right. We have to go in between. So it jumped around a little bit. So what do you want to do for quantity? So by thousands? Okay. So you can either just put 1, 2, 3, etc., and then put in the units that it's by thousands, or you can put the whole thousands. Well, who's going to want 9,800 hamburger patties? Well, this, you have to remember, is a market. It's not an individual person. Tell me a company, right? They may buy 10,000 patties within a week or a month or a year or whatever. So this isn't necessarily you going to the store and buying 10,000 of them. It's a lot. That's a really big barbecue. Okay, so plot the points. So demand first. Ooh, I should have started at 0, but I didn't. Oh well. 60's 2,000. Why? Because I didn't start at 0? Yeah, yours is just 1 over. I should have. I'm just now too lazy to rewrite it. I'm kind of pretending I'm Connor, you know.
So if we do that on a test, is that okay?
Probably not. No.
Supply and demand schedule.
Yes. Nice.
It goes like 210, 240, 250. Is that supposed to be 270?
Yeah, that's what Derek was saying, and I think it's supposed to be. If you did yours correctly, unlike mine, then yes, you would. Okay, and demanded, so 30 cents. We're way over here at 98. 60, 86. 90, 74. Make sure you've got your S and D marked and your P and Q marked. And I'm just marking the equilibrium. Am I going too fast? So the equilibrium is at 150. I even told you before we started because, well, we didn't actually need the graph to figure that out. Look at the schedule. How could we find out the equilibrium price by just looking at the schedule? Yeah, wherever the two are exactly the same is going to be the equilibrium. So how do we know that? Because QD equals QS. Okay, then we want to know, well, at 220, what's happening? Okay, is that in my table? No, so what do I do? It's not in the table, can't do it. Okay, go back to the graph now. Okay, we're going to estimate where we think 220 is, so it's got to be less or more than 210, less than halfway. Okay, let's figure out where it crosses. And I know just because it forms the triangle on top that that's going to be excess supply. But the question wants to know how much excess supply. So let's estimate the quantity supplied. offer of 71. Would you like to confirm that, accept that, or offer something else? Okay, so let's estimate approximately 7,100. Let's estimate the QD. Offer of 1,900. 2,100. What's the excess supply? Not a good thing for the economy. Why? Yeah, what are they going to do with 5,000 extra patties? That would be a lot. So what that tells us is this price is too high, right? We're going to have way too much excess. Okay, let's look if they go with a lower price. So let's go down to 90. Ooh, do we need the graph or can we do it from the table? Okay, we can do this one from the table. The quantity demanded. Quantity supplied. The excess demand. Not good for the economy either. Why? Yeah, there's a lot of hungry people, right, who didn't get their burger. Okay, let's just draw it on the graph so we can shade in the triangle. Yes, that's right, we use subtraction. It's a very hard math concept today. Well, now we're going to look at what if it's not price that's changing? What if it's supply or demand that's changing? Because we know we have all those reasons that things can change besides price. So let's look at the demand curve first, and give me a reason the demand curve might move inwards. A little bit louder, sorry. We're moving demand, though. So demand's coming inward. Just in general, just give me a reason. Loss of income, maybe a better product. Government sticks their nose into things. Give me another reason.
If it's food, maybe there was like a health issue.
Okay, so maybe, yeah, maybe there was something happening. Maybe the season changed. Okay, so let's move demand in. We'll call it D2. Now I'm going to color the triangle that's formed here between our D2 and our equilibrium. Because it always goes vertical, never goes horizontal. And so is that excess supply or excess demand? Well, you can tell just by dropping the demand down. So we get our QD here. And suddenly QD is less than the equilibrium quantity. So are we going to have a shortage or are we going to have a surplus? Okay, so if people don't want as many as what's being produced, that's a surplus. If the triangle points down, it's a surplus. So if the tip of the triangle is pointing down, it'll be a surplus. So if demand decreases, that's a surplus. Assuming everything else stays the same, so supply stays the same, price stays the same, everything else. What is that phrase in Latin, if all other things stay the same? That sounded Italian. Which, those of you who left the bonus blank on the last test, it was in question number 2. It was right in question number 2. Switch colors. I don't care what color, but let's move demand out. Okay, people get income, the thing becomes cool again, whatever happens. Now remember, price is not changing in this one, so all I'm going to do is take the same price and just continue the line. Okay, so I'm not moving my price up to the tip of that triangle because this time price is staying exactly the same. But my triangle ends up being here. And so let's call this D3. And so the equilibrium hasn't moved, but suddenly QD is way down here. So what does that mean? If the triangle is pointing up, that's always going to be a shortage. So if demand goes up, shortage. Again, all other things being equal, price doesn't change, supply doesn't change, nothing else changes. If it's just a demand change, then you're going to get a shortage.
You know, they're asking for the border now. I went there outside, I was with the signal side of it, and when we were coming back into Canada, they asked if we have been in contact with any countries infected with Ebola.
Interesting. Why would you? No, we're actually, it's Winnipeg that has the vaccine, which is kind of cool. Yay, Winnipeg.
I've gotten it. I want to get it.
We can't get it. We're supplying it to the countries that have Ebola. So we're sending it to Africa and to the United States. But it's kind of cool we made it here. That's kind of neat. Okay, now let's look at the same thing, but supply now is going to change. So if supply moves inward, give me a reason. Raise in production cost. Give me another reason. There are 6 of them.
Technology.
Okay, but this, it's moving inward, so can't be an increase in technology because that would increase supply. We just talked about, yeah, we just said that. So something happened with the decrease, but why? What's a reason? So yes, production costs, there are more. Maybe an issue with the technology, maybe it broke, whatever. What about the government? What might they have done?
A law or ban.
So they ban something, they tax something, right? Something's going on. Here's our triangle.
It's a small.
Well, it just matters how far the curve moves over, right? We don't know exactly where. And suddenly we have a QS that is lower than the equilibrium quantity. So if the quantity supplied is less than the quantity wanted, what's going to happen? Shortage, and that's why it's pointing up. So supply goes down, and we get shortage. Again, assuming everything else stays the same, price stays the same, demand stays the same. Okay, well, what if supply moves outward? Maybe an increase in technology. Maybe government subsidy.
Hey, there could have been a decrease in technology before.
Okay, again, I'm not moving price, so I'm not coming down here where their lines intersect like before. I'm keeping the exact same price, so just extending that line. Okay, getting the new quantity supplied. So now the quantity supplied is higher. So what's going to happen? And triangle pointing down, which indicates as well it's a surplus. What if both curves move? Do you want to move them both in or both out? Why? And so again, price isn't going to move. So I'm going to draw the new quantity. And this time it's actually the equilibrium that moved over. And so this is neither. This isn't a surplus or a shortage. It's the quantity that both supply and demand went down, but the price stayed the same. That will only happen if they both move in the same direction. So if one goes out, one goes up, that could change if one goes inward more than the other one. So basically if they both move, a whole bunch of things could happen. And we're not going to focus on this till next year. I just wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like. So it really depends which one moves more, what's going to happen.
So this won't be on a test or anything?
Yeah. Just an idea for next year, what's going to happen. Okay, so let's do an example similar to what your worksheet's going to look like. So you're going to draw a graph about price and quantity of ice cream when some things happen. Okay, so what we're doing is those shifts either in price or shifts in demand, shift in supply, so exactly what we did last unit. We're just now going to talk about the excess and the surplus.